Hi, I am Shakirah Bourne, and I'm going to share a bit about my writing journey and my award-winning book, My Fishy Stepmom. Yay! So, how did I start writing? I started writing because I loved to read. Honestly, I read so many books when I was younger, and I was obsessed with books like The Babysitter's Club and Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys and Sweet Valley High. Oh my gosh, I love the twins Elizabeth and Jessica. And after reading so much, I think I wanted to try writing for myself to see if maybe I could tell similar stories. And honestly, that is what I wrote. The first thing I wrote was a very embarrassing love triangle romance type stories. It was influenced by Sweet Valley High, and it was called Jealousy Could Kill, or Jealousy Can Kill. Yeah, Jealousy Can Kill. And it was about this love triangle in high school or secondary school, but as I was influenced by Sweet Valley High and American culture, it was high school and not secondary school. So it was about, two girls fighting over a boy, and I still have it. I have not read it in a long time, but I'll check back and see if it's any good. It didn't occur to me that I could be a writer. I knew I'd like to tell stories, but at the time it didn't seem like a writer was a career that a Caribbean person could seriously have. So for a very long time, it was just my hobby. And it wasn't until in my 20s, I believe, I realized, you know what, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I think I was 21 when I quit my first job and decided that I was going to be a writer. What was the main inspiration for crafting this novel set in Barbados? I'm Barbadian and I am proud. I just wanted to see more stories, more children's stories set in a setting that I can identify with, whether it's Barbados or the Caribbean. Like, why can't vampires rise up in Guyana? And why can't aliens land in Trinidad? Why do these things always have to happen in American cities? They can happen here too in the Caribbean, and we have interesting characters, we have interesting sayings, we have interesting folklore, so our stories will be amazing to tell too. And that is my number one goal. My number one goal is to bring Barbadian and Caribbean stories to life, whether it be in a book, in a film, in a play. I just want to bring our culture to the world, and I think this is a good time to encourage you to do the same. I want to hear stories set in your island, in your class, on your favorite beach. I want to read them, and I know there's so many millions of people out there that are excited to read them too. So yes, all of my stories will always be set either in Barbados or the Caribbean, and I have no interest in setting them anywhere else. Tell us about crafting your main character Josephine and her life in Fairyvale. And what do I love best about her? Oh, I love everything about Josephine. I always knew that I wanted to have a character who was mischievous and who liked practical jokes, maybe because that's how I was when I was younger. I like playing a lot of practical jokes on my family and my friends. I wanted a character who was the same. And although Josephine is very mischievous, she is very loving and loyal, and she is very overprotective of those that she really cares about. And her mom died when she was very young, and so she's always been extremely fearful that something is going to happen to those she loves. And it's why she only has one friend, because she's happy with her one friend, and she's very protective of her own emotions, and is why she is so afraid to have her dad move on to somebody else, to bring somebody else into her life that she may actually love, and that means that she'll be open to hurt. And I think that's also why I love about her so much. She will have your back if she will be the one, she will not let anyone unfair you. So if she sees that you're in trouble, she will do her best to step up and protect you and defend you. And she's also so funny. She always makes me laugh, and so that's why I love Josephine. Yeah, she is so awesome. So okay, Josephine's best friend, he has Asperger's, which is a developmental disorder. This is one of those times where the characters speak to you and you feel like if the character created themselves rather than you, the writer, creating the character. I know it sounds a little bit crazy, but all writers are a little crazy. No, but seriously, when you start to write, you will realize that sometimes your characters speak to you and they demand you write how they want to be. And because of the grief and the trauma of Josephine's mother's death, she does have a kind of emotional disability in terms of she does not want to let other people in, and she's very happy to just be with her dad and to just play by herself. This is before she met Akai. And Akai, because of his developmental disorder, he has difficulty interacting with other people, especially strangers. He has difficulty forming connections with other people. So when these two loners come together, their friendship is so amazing because you know what? They accept each other for who they are. If you would notice in the very beginning of the chapter, and we're going to talk about it, Josephine doesn't care about Asperger's, and Akai doesn't care that Josephine does not want to let anyone in. They're just happy just being together and not being alone. So that's how I think it's such a beautiful friendship. When people accept you for exactly who you are, with all of your faults, with all your difficulties, and with all your quirks, and they love you anyway. That's the type of friendship that Josephine and Akai have, and I hope that you have a friend who's just like that. So Josephine wants to play cricket for her school, but there's no girls cricket team, which means that she would have to try out for the boys cricket team, and the coach does not believe that girls should play on the team with boys. And Josephine goes to extreme lengths to prove her skills to the coach. Now, what do I want you to get from this storyline? I want you to realize that sometimes there are challenges to get what we really want. However, if you really want it and you're determined, you can find ways to overcome the challenges and creative ways. I mean, Josephine went all out. I don't want to give spoilers in case you haven't read the book, but she went to an extreme situation to try to show the coach her skills, and she very nearly succeeds. But even though she didn't succeed at that time, she never gave up that dream, and she also kept practicing. So it wasn't like she didn't get on the team and she just gave up cricket. She kept practicing. She kept trying to develop her skill. So she just kept believing that she could do it, and eventually it did happen. So that is what you want you to get. Don't give up. Follow your dreams, even when sometimes there are people that should be role models and people that should encourage you to follow your dream. Sometimes you don't get the support from those people, but if it's something that you really want, just remember that if you believe it and if you are persistent and if you are determined, then your dream can come true as well. So lots of Barbadian folklore and superstition is explored in this book, and Miss Mo believes in all. Miss Mo's a case. Am I superstitious? I don't know. Maybe yes and no. I don't necessarily believe in everything that Miss Mo would believe. However, just in case there's some semblance of truth, I would still do certain things to make sure. Like, for example, when I was in school, when I was younger, there was this game going around called Bloody Mary, and basically you would look in the mirror and say Bloody Mary a certain amount of times. I'm not going to tell you in case you try it. And apparently when you said it the third time, then she would appear in the mirror behind you. Now, I don't necessarily believe that that is true, but I'm not gonna do it just in case. Just in case I am that one person that it happens to. You know what? Maybe I'm a little superstitious. Yeah, maybe I am. So, what is my favorite local folklore? So there is this tale of the moving coffins of the Chase Vault, and it is up to you to tell me or to decide if you think it's a true story. It is recorded in the archives. So what happened is there's this vault called the Chase Vault, and everything was normal, and there was one person buried inside of the vault, and then they opened it to put a little girl inside of it. She was a Chase. That was the first Chase to the Chase Vault. They closed the vault, and when they closed the vault, they seal it. So then the girl's sister died, apparently of suicide. So when they opened the vault, and they put the sister in it. So by now there are 3 people in this vault: the sister, the little girl, and another unknown woman. So then the father, Thomas Chase, he dies, and this is where it starts to get all creepy. So when they open the the vault, they find these heavy coffins all out of order. So they were like stacked against the walls, and they were all like upside down, and no one could explain how the coffins got like that. But they all were just like, that's weird. So they put the coffins back in the correct position, and they shut the vault. So then a couple months later, someone else died, and they decided they want to bury the person in this vault. And when they opened the vault, now remember, this vault is sealed. When they opened the vault, the coffins were all on top of each other all over again, and no one could explain why. And by this time, and this is all legit recorded, you can Google it and you can research it. And by this time, like, word spread that the coffins were moving, and people were saying that the Chase family couldn't live together in life, and now they fight in death, and that's why the coffins were always moving. And what they did is that they scattered sand on the floor and leaves. Then the governor at the time, he put a seal, and then they sealed it again. So they waited for a couple weeks just to see what would happen. And the next time that people opened the vault, by now there was like a whole crowd of photographers and news people. And when they opened the vault again, all of the coffins were packed on top of each other. To this day, no one can explain how that happened. The sand was not disturbed. There were no footprints. There were no earthquakes. There was no flood. No one can explain how these coffins got piled on top of each other. And so they all decided to take the coffins out of the Chase Vault and bury them separately. Now, the reason this story is one of my favorites is because I grew up very near to the Chase Vault, and I actually used to play inside of the vault when my guardians were in church. So I used to just run around in that vault and in that graveyard, not knowing the story. So when I learned about this story, I became fascinated even more with the vault. So yeah, that is definitely my favorite folk tale, and it's so creepy because no one can say that it didn't happen. These are actual facts recorded. However, no one can explain it either. So which folk tale inspired the character of Maurice? Now that is a tale that I read when I was in English class. I'm not sure of the name of the story, but it's about a fisherman who became obsessed with a mermaid who used to sit on a rock in the river and comb her hair and look in the mirror. And he became so obsessed with this mermaid that he stopped eating, he stopped sleeping. He was so in love with her that he didn't think that he could live without her. And in the story, she appears to him in a dream and tells him to come to the river, and everyone is like, don't go and he's like, I'm going. And the story ends with him disappearing and no one ever hearing or seeing him again. And I always wondered what happened to that fisherman, and what was that mermaid. And then I started doing my research and realizing that mermaid is based off of a very popular African folklore character called the Mami Wata, and there are variations of this mermaid in so many different cultures around the world. So when you read the book, you're gonna learn a lot about that character. Okay, so what does the image of the hummingbird, Akai's lucky charm, represent in the story? That hummingbird symbolizes the start of Akai and Josephine's relationship. Now remember, these are two people who are a little socially awkward, who are not looking for other friends, who are happy to be alone. And for some reason, this bird brought them together. And in other cultures, now the hummingbird is the smallest bird in the world, but in other cultures it represents it's like a messenger. It represents luck, joy, friendship, and healing. And that is what that moment did, because at that moment Josephine was still in deep grief of her mother, and Akai healing the bird and bringing it back to life, kind of like bring a spark of life back into Josephine's heart. And it was the first step of the healing process for her, opening her heart to someone else in terms of a friendship. And for Akai, Josephine is the first person that he instantly connected to and he had a chemistry with. And at that moment, they decided to be best friends. So it was a lucky moment for them both. So yes, that hummingbird represents the start of that beautiful friendship when Josephine met Akai. So what is my favorite part of the novel and why? I really struggled with this question because there's so much in the book that I really, really like. But if I have to pinpoint moments in terms of what I really enjoyed writing, it would probably be the chapter called War, when Josephine decides to play a practical joke on Maurice. Now remember I told you that I love practical jokes. I still do. And I had so much fun trying to think about what jokes and what pranks she could play on Maurice to try to scare her away and scare her out of her dad's life. And for the first time it didn't work. Like Josephine's trick didn't work. And it was also a little bit touching for me because it's when the dad officially decides to move on with someone else and Josephine has to confront the reality of, in her head, losing her dad to someone else. So that is probably one moment. Another part that I really like is when she is out on going out to sea. That moment when she hugs Akai, knowing that she may never see him again, and she gets in the boat and she goes out into the dark sea to try to save her dad, and she starts to talk to her mom. That was a part that almost made me a little weepy. But that's probably another one of my favorite parts of the novel. And I have many more, but I guess those two moments kind of stand out for me. Okay, so now I'm going to read an excerpt of My Fishy Stepmom. Yay! So if you could open, I'm going to start at the beginning. So if you can open your book to chapter 1, page 2, and let's read it together. Come in, Alpha Mike. What's the status? Over. I let go of the button and wait. Just static. The old brass clock ticks. Okay, Joe. Breathe in. Operation Slime is still a goal. In, out. Be calm. In, Alpha Mike, you better answer me. Over. Static. And then, this is Alpha Mike, Alpha Mike, Alpha Mike. I wait for Akai to finish whispering his code name exactly 5 times. That's just how he is. Daddy says he may have a condition called, what's it called again? It reminds me of something delicious. Fried chicken, pizza, burgers. That's it. Asperger's. It sounds yummy like hamburgers, but that's far from the truth. I am one of the few people Akai utters a word to. He spends most of his time with his head buried in a book, his thick glasses almost touching the pages. People think he's odd, but I don't mind. I get to learn so many big words and phrases from other languages. Plus, I like having him all to myself. The target has left the derelict wagon. She is approaching the pink hibiscus facilatus bush and ascending the stairs. She will reach your location in approximately 10.3 seconds, 9.6 seconds, 8. I put the walkie-talkie on the floor and pick up the battered cricket ball. Since the incident, I am not allowed near Coach Broom's equipment room, so I'm forced to hunt for rejected cricket balls like some kind of cow leather scavenger. I had fished this one out of the bushes when Jared, one of the best cricketers at my school, hit it for 6. Almost all the thread is gone, and I get little bounce when it hits the grass. But I don't need bounce now. I need precision. The bucket has to tip at just the right angle. I focus on the X I had drawn at the top of the plastic bucket and try my best to ignore the large flies buzzing around the rim. Focus, precision, speed. The back door opens and I know my daddy, the gentleman that he is, will let Gal 5 inside the house first. I am overwhelmed by the smell of fruity, cheap perfume. No! I release the ball from my V-grip and watch as it speeds towards the target. Yes! Yes! No! The ball misses the rim of the bucket by a whisper. I hope that its wind is enough to make the bucket lose balance from the edge of the refrigerator, but it's not my lucky day. Instead, the ball continues across the kitchen and crashes through the window. The glass shatters. Gal 5 screams and tries to duck, but she's wobbly on her 6-inch heels. Daddy grabs Gal 5 by the arm, steadying her balance. He looks down at the broken glass on the floor and then glares up at me on the stairs. Josephine, Elizabeth, Zara, Kadaden. So that's it for My Fishy Stepmom. I hope you get to read the book and I hope you enjoy it. And I hope you love Josephine and Akai and Miss Mo and her dad and Maurice. I hope you enjoyed the book as much as I enjoyed writing it. And if you did, you feel free to send me an email. I look forward to all your messages and I look forward to reading your story someday. Bye.